Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today this is take 2 of the pre-match bulletin for the Blackburn Rovers game. We are back into the normal studio. Anyone who is checking in with us, make sure that we've got the audio and the visuals right. Let me know, I'm sure you will, if it's not good enough, because that's what happened when I tried it in another room. And technical issues. I've been away for a week, so dived straight in, feet first. I was actually saying the last time we played Blackburn at home, it was at Hampden Park. It was Fergus McCann's first full season at the helm. All good, Paul. I'll tell you what, that's great to hear, because, William, I hate technical issues. It needs to be perfect or I won't bother doing it. So we're good to go. We want to get you all involved. I'm on the match day bulletins myself. So let's get the views of all the viewers up and let's have a wee look at our return to paradise. Vidette Dixon, happy game day, boys and girls. Absolutely. And here we go. Dermot, Celtic, Rabbitoh, take 2, hail, hail. Yeah, you're right, take 2. I thought you meant take 2 of Blackburn. Take 2. From time to time, I will be doing straight to camera. This is going to be a really brief preview. Yeah, Kookaburra, I had it all set up, and like a lot of good plans, it all went breasts up, belly up, whatever you want to say. Let's have a look at the Celtic starting 11. I'm sure you've already seen it. It's heart and goals. Juranovic at right back with Carter Vickers and Welsh in the centre of defence. At left back, we've got Taylor. We've got McGregor, O'Reilly and Turnbull in the midfield. Up top, Abada, Jota and Kyogo. Over the last week, I've had a lot of time to reflect on Celtic's start to the season. And I've actually been wondering, what is our best 11? Is there such a thing in Ange's mind as a best starting 11? Or is he approaching certain games with the opposition in mind? So I'm going to be running through some of the players I've mentioned here. Here we go. Scottish van driver, hi Paul, how's you today? Mate, I'm absolutely fine. I don't get flustered when the technical side of things doesn't go well. Although obviously it was a mad rush to get back into the studio, and yes, as you've said before, it's going to be a very brief preview. This is a straight to camera match day preview. We're going to be back at half time, we're going to be back at full time, and the idea behind this is to get as many of you involved as possible. Thank you very much for your feedback. Ryan Kelly, we are in the studio, we're linked up to the studio equipment, everything should be fine. And obviously, how bad is Starfelt's injury, by the way? That's the thing, Stevie. We've seen him obviously training over the pre-season as well, and we hope he is back ASAP, because there is no doubt a massive part of last season's success was the partnership of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carl Starfelt as well. You might see me scrunching my eyes up. My eyesight is that bad, but I'm going to be trying to bring up as many of you as possible. Here we go. Ole, PJ flying solo. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with flying solos from time to time, Stevie. What we do during the week, obviously at 12:30, we have the bulletin. We look back on 24 hours of Celtic, everything Celtic related, and we have a panel of 18, massive variety of views. You could essentially talk about the same subject every single day and get a completely different view, because the panel changes from Monday through to Friday. The match days I will be covering initially from the studio. If we can figure out a better way of doing that closer to the stadium, then we will do. But I'm quite happy sitting here and watching the game. I'd much rather be at it, of course, because that is what it's all about, getting back to paradise today. And we need to look at the aspirations as well of Celtic leading into the new season, because the Juranovic story broke some time ago. And it was just after we had done a bulletin basically saying this is going to be the first time in 5 seasons that we don't sell one of our major assets. Someone brought up, who did we sell in the 9 in a row, going for the 10 in a row season? Well, we sold Frimpong, didn't we? We sold Frimpong for £11.5 million. So that he was a major asset, he was a big player, and we sold him before the turn of the year. So I think that every season we've sold, this could be the first where we haven't. Obviously last season we sold Edouard, Christie and Ayer. So we ran the podcast saying, this is going to be a change in direction for Celtic. We're not going to sell any of our big assets. And that very day, Fabrizio Romano runs a story that Juranovic has got interest from Atletico Madrid. Absolutely no surprise, because of the way he has fitted in both at Celtic and also the way he's developing and progressing interesting on the international stage as well. And, you know, Romano versus Dykes, I think most people believed that Romano was correct in that respect. Since then, Juranovic has spoken about the interest. It looks as though he's committed to Celtic. But what I found very interesting about his quotes was the fact that he mentioned the Champions League. He mentioned the fact Celtic were a big club. And what we've got into the habit of doing over a period of time is when we speak about getting into the Champions League, we speak about the bounty, 35 million, 40 million. It's almost like, you know, as soon as you mention the Champions League, you talk about the riches. And I understand why, because for a club like Celtic, it's a huge income stream. When you look at how poor the Scottish game pays out when it comes to prize money. Something like the Champions League just takes you on a completely different level to everybody else in the Scottish game. And we have fallen into the habit on Axom and you know elsewhere about just talking about Champions League and talking about the money. But there's a lot of other aspects that makes Champions League essential for a club like Celtic. And I think some of them were covered in Juranovic's very brief quotes. When he's talking about Celtic being a big club, he's talking about being on that platform. Now, I'm not going to say that you'll be able to keep players like Van Dijk and Moussa Dembele forever. That's not going to happen. Even our homegrown players such as Kieran Tierney have flown the nest. It's not going to happen. But what it may do is it may keep them at the club longer, and it may allow us, under a manager like Ange Postecoglou, to build something special over a period of 4 or 5 seasons. I suggested that a few weeks back, and some of the comments were, you know, we're a selling club. We've got this model of bringing a player in relatively cheaply, selling them on for massive profits within a 3-year period, and I totally get that. But you add the Champions League prestige into the mix, and everything is taken to a completely different level. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved. If anyone has an update actually on Stevie's query, how bad is Starfelt's injury, then let us know. It's great to get everybody involved. And this is like the old days at a Celtic State of Mind, where we first started and it was me and all you just basically chewing the fat about Celtic. Brown Warrior is bringing up, this will be shorter than Marvin Comper's Celtic career, Paul. You're right, because that only lasted, was it 20 minutes? And this is going to be a 15-minute bulletin. It was meant to be the normal 30 minutes, but there were some gremlins in the tank, and I'd much rather just scrap it and go live with better quality, and that's exactly what we've done. If you haven't subscribed to A Celtic State of Mind, get onto our YouTube channel. A Celtic State of Mind, of course, is part of the wider State of Mind outlet on YouTube. Get subscribing. 19,000 of you are subscribing over there. On Facebook, I think we're up to about 18,000, 16,000 on Twitter. Follow what we do as well as the Celtic content. We love a bit of music. We love a bit of movies and all that kind of stuff. But we'll keep the Celtic chat on today's bulletin because we don't have much time due to my technical inabilities. Let's have a wee look at the bench as well. We've got Scott Bain, Siegrist. We've also got Oliver Yemi. I would love to see him starring at some stage in the pre-season, actually. Highly rated 19-year-old. We've got Julien, who is quite clearly a third choice centre-half at the moment because Welsh has been given the nod. What's your thoughts on that? Is Julien a third choice? Does he have a future at Celtic? We've also got James McCarthy, who I think has looked pretty lean since we came back for the pre-season. We've got Mikey Johnson, who's been putting in the extra training sessions, and he was pretty impressive in a couple of the games as well. Ideguchi, looking forward to seeing loads more of Ideguchi this season. We've got Kenny, not Jonjo. We have Kenny, who I think in his first appearance for Celtic was looking for a hat-trick in the first half. He has not put a foot wrong yet. Want to see more of him. We've got Bernabe, who I think in the last game against Banik Ostrava finally looked as though he was comfortable playing in the inverted fullback role. It's obviously going to take a wee while for players to adapt to that, but I thought that was the first indication that we've got a player who can fit in. Although I would say at this moment in time Taylor is the first choice until form or injury or otherwise. We've got Uragide. He's a player who has played a full game in the pre-season and who I'm not sure where he fits in, I've got to be honest. So, a lot of people have said that he's a solid big player with all the raw materials required for a defender. I'm not so sure, because when you're playing for Ange Postecoglou's team, you spend a lot of time on the ball. You need to be comfortable on that ball, sometimes even go for a run with that. Your passing, your distribution has to be spot on. I think Urhoghidis all about winning tackles and headers, muscling players out, etc. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a loan deal, because I know that the move to Belgium broke down due to the financial element of that. Maeda, who is starting on the bench. I'm looking forward to seeing version 2 of Maeda. He's telling us that he was tired and slower than normal last season. So I'm looking forward to seeing the 100% Maeda. We've got Jamesy Forrest, his new contract. Divided opinion. I was on the side of give him the new contract. I'll be looking forward to seeing what part he plays, but he's certainly going to be playing second fiddle to Lee Labada, who had a sensational first season in a Celtic jersey. I think Bossum Lowell has been, or is it Lowell? Or are we just getting used to using the name Lowell? Bossum Lowell, who was signed from Watford, I think has done himself absolutely no harm in this pre-season. I'd like to see him tested against solid opposition as well. We've got Tony Ralston. He was handed the captain's armband, and that was spoken about at the end of the week on the Axon Bulletin as well. And I think the success story of Tony Ralston is a shining example for any of the young players coming through. And of course, the final player on that bench is a young player coming through in Rocco Vata. We rate him very highly, and I think that he's in good hands when you look at the fact that his father Rudy has spent some time post-playing career as an agent, and he's a very shrewd man, and he obviously has Celtic at heart, and I think that will work well for us, because Vata is undoubtedly a huge talent. Let's throw over to you guys and girls. Welcome back from Brisbane. Love to hear where you're actually listening from, because I was listening last week from up north, and that's why you didn't see me for a full week. That's the first time that's happened since Axom started 5 years ago. So there we go. We've got Tom Hunter coming in. I think we need another solid defender, i.e. Ben Davis. I do think we need a centre-half. I think the injury to Carl Starfelt has shown that as soon as you lose Carter Vickers or Starfelt, the drop to the next choice, be that Julian or Welsh, at this moment in time, is quite a big drop. And I mean, people might disagree. People might say to me that Julien's a good enough backup. I'm a fan of Welsh, but I do think that there's a standard set by Carter Vickers and Starfelt that we don't get from our second or even third choices. So yes, I agree, Tam, that we need to get another centre-half in. We've got Brian O'Neill. There's a good chance Brian O'Neill played in the last game that we played against Blackburn Rovers, actually. I need to check the wiki. PJ, we have a best 17 or 18 different options for different games. That is what I'm starting to see with Ange Postecoglou. I could give you what I think is our best starting 11, generally based on individual players. But as you're saying, Brian, when we come up against specific opposition, I'm sure Ange will be mixing and matching. There are some constants in there, and I think that even with Seagrass coming, I think Joe Hart's a constant. I think the two centre-halves, when fit, will always play in Carter Vickers and Starfelt. I think Callum McGregor is the same. But, last season there was a point where you would never have suggested for a moment that Kyogo wouldn't start. But then Giakoumakis comes in, completely different player. And I think that we saw that in the February victory against Rangers when Giakoumakis had every single one of those Rangers defenders on toast. They were playing with a bit of a fear. He was breathing down. He didn't get much of the ball, but it was all about his work off the ball. And I think there are certain games where he's going to get the nod over even Kyogo. And I was very interested to read Kyogo's comments in relation to his aspirations for being the top goal scorer in Scotland, because there is a school of thought that would suggest that that's a wee message to Giakoumakis, because he was the top goal scorer in Scotland, and I think it's brilliant competition. It's really healthy to have that up top. Again though, I've got to say, and I know that Maeda and Abada, I'm keeping an eye on the time so everybody can get the kick-off. I know that they guys can play up top as well, and we've got young Kenny, who's shown up well in the pre-season. I still think we need another striker. I would not be surprised if we brought in another striker as well. I keep going back to the Boxing Day game at Perth, whereby, a couple of injuries and we're playing Joey Dawson up top, which wasn't ideal when we were in a position where we could not afford to drop a single point between that period of the season and the end of the season as well. Let us know your thoughts. Some names that are familiar to us are coming through, which is great. Who remembers the game the last time we played Blackburn Rovers at Hampden Park? It was my first season ticket, and here we go. We've got you and Boy Martin coming in. Good wee holiday, PJD. Yeah, it was a nice break, but obviously I was online every single day making sure that everything was running smoothly in the world of AXOM as well. As you do, you've got to do that, haven't you? So we're nearing kick-off time. I would love to be at the game. Unfortunately, that's not the case because we are here covering the game as well. What are your score predictions for today? We've got Daza coming in saying 4-0 Celtic. I like the confidence. Why not? We have been scoring quite freely, and I think that there will be goals in today's game as well. Is it a concern for you that we shipped 5 goals in the last 2 games? Is that a concern? Or can we say, you know what, we're not playing our first choice centre-half partnership. We're getting all the rustiness out of our legs, and if you're going to lose 5 goals, let's do it in pre-season. It's past. I've got to apologise for the false start. Let's forget all about that. Let's look at the last 15 minutes and say, you know what, that was excellent contributions from everybody who got involved. Let's have more of that at half-time. We've got a few predictions. They're all positive. Thank you, every single one of you, for getting involved today. Enjoy the game, and I'll see you at half-time. Thanks for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.